The college bowl game picks continue here on Touchdowns to Home Runs. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys are having an amazing holiday. Hope you had a very Merry Christmas, and we are back with more college football bowl predictions. Today, we are going with the second of the two playoff games. We got the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Clemson Tigers in the Sugar Bowl from New Orleans. It's going to be an amazing game. 2 versus 3, the rematch of the 2 versus 3 Fiesta Bowl game last season, and we know Clemson and Ohio State have played multiple times over the past couple years, and Clemson has had Ohio State's number. Can Ohio State come into New Orleans and knock off the Clemson Tigers and go take on what would probably be the Alabama Crimson Tide in the national championship? That game is coming to you from, I think it's Tampa this year. I think the national championship game is in Tampa or it's in Miami this year. One of those two. I know it's in Florida, but it's going to be a great game, so let's get into talking about this one. First off, Dabo is creating so much around this game just by him putting Ohio State 11 in his poll. He said that he has no disrespect, that he respects the program for Ohio State a bunch, but it's just like the fact that this team has only played how many games? 6 games all season. He put them at 11, and I think that that is just creating so much energy in that Ohio State locker room, and that's really going to power them to want to beat Clemson, because the fact that you have the other coach saying that your team is not deserving of being in the college football playoff is very, 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 just creates such a nice plot around this game, just adding to the intensity of this game, and I love it. So let's get into this game. Right now, we have Clemson at a 10-1 team. Obviously, they had the Notre Dame loss early in the season, which obviously they are missing key parts on their defense and Trevor Lawrence, which you had DJ come into that game, and it was a very close game. I think that game went into double OT, and it was Notre Dame who was able to win on I think the game ended on a sack or something like that. I remember watching that game. Ohio State undefeated this season, Big Ten champions. Obviously, they just knocked off Northwestern in the Big Ten championship. That was actually a very, very close game. Northwestern had a very good game defensively, especially in that secondary. They were able to pick off Justin Fields a couple times. They were able to get the ball back into their offense's hands. It was just Ramsey was not able to make the smart decisions for Northwestern, and he wasn't able to keep that ball moving for Northwestern, and they weren't able to score enough points. What put Ohio State over the top in this game was definitely Sermon, rushing for 300 plus yards in that game. I think he rushed the most that any Buckeyes ever rushed in a single game in that game alone. I think he was at 331 yards, something like that. Unbelievable game. He's now the leading rusher for this Buckeyes team throughout the whole season. He's passed Master Teague after that one game. He's had 675 yards, 3 touchdowns for 84 carries this season. You have Justin Fields at 1,521 total yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So that puts you at a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And then you have Garrett Wilson as your leading receiver, 621 yards, 5 touchdowns with 38 receptions. You look at the Clemson side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence, 2,753 yards for 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Travis Etienne, obviously their leading rusher, the all-time leading rusher in ACC history at 882 yards, 13 touchdowns. Then Amari Rodgers is the leading receiver with 966 yards for 7 touchdowns. Clemson has played more games, so obviously their stats are going to line up a lot better than Ohio State's has, because Clemson's played 11 games. Ohio State has played 6 games, so that's almost half as much. What's going to be the keys for this game? Who's going to come out firing at the beginning? Because we know Ohio State can have an electric offense, but after the last couple games, it hasn't seemed that way, especially against that Northwestern team that does have a good defense. Clemson has a very good defense too. You see in that ACC championship game, that defensive line for Clemson really got after the ball. They really got pressure on that quarterback. So that's something that Ohio State, they're going to be going up against good defense. Is your offense going to be prepared enough to go out there and be expected to put up 35 plus points in this game? Because you got to be able to score if you want to beat Clemson in this game for Ohio State. Ohio State has to put up at least 35 plus in this game. Are they going to be able to do that against a really good Clemson defensive front with like guys like Breesy? Who else is on that Clemson? I can't remember any other guys. I don't like to talk about Clemson that much, but I know that Brian Breesy was a guy who got his name called a lot in that ACC championship game. Ohio State, You're going to have to hit your shots down deep. Obviously, Garrett Wilson's going to be your main target all game. You're also going to have Julian Fleming, who's one of the biggest recruits from last year. He's going to have to step up and become a big player in this game, which he has shown. He has been a very solid wide receiver for Ohio State this season. He's made some big plays. I've watched a couple of Ohio State games. In all those games, I've seen Julian Fleming making an impact. You're going to have a dual running back game with Teague and Sermon getting back there. You're going to have to get that rushing game going like you did against Northwestern, especially against this Clemson defensive front. If you could get Sermon going, I'm not expecting him to rush for another 300-plus game, but you got to get at least 200 rushing yards on the ground for this Ohio State team, because you just got to keep the offense two-dimensional or three-dimensional. You cannot have a one-dimensional offense going up against Clemson. That is just not going to work. You can't just stick to one, the passing game, or one of the rushing game, because they're going to be able to pick you apart there. You got to be able to keep them on their toes. You got to be able to keep them guessing every single play that they don't know. Are you going to rush or are you going to pass? And that's going to be huge, because if they think you're rushing, if you're able to catch them off guard and they bring the blitz, they start expecting the rush and everything. That gets you into man coverage. That's when you start to hit guys like Fleming or Garrett Wilson deep. You get them in one-on-one coverage, and that's when you're able to go deep. They drop the safety. They're either in cover one or they don't have a safety back. They blitz him. That's when you got nice shots downfield. So that's what you really got to get into if you're Ohio State in this scenario. You got to establish the rushing game to really open that passing game. It's quality. It's not even like I'm talking up here and thinking like I'm some big analysis. That's football. If you're able to establish the rushing game, it's for the same for every single game. I could go and talk about some high school football game, and it would be the exact same thing, where it's just, if you're able to get the rushing game going, the whole ball game is different for you, and that's a big factor in why Ohio State really needs to do to be able to win this game. Clemson, their offense is going to remain consistent. They're good. They're a very good offense. I don't think they're at Alabama level. Obviously, you have Trevor Lawrence in this game, who's now going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars ever since the Jets decided to win 2 games in a row and finish the biggest choke in sports history, in my opinion. Winning 2 games in a row. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable that the Jets lost Trevor Lawrence. You're going to have a good offense. You got Rodgers. You got Etienne, who's one of the best rushers in the league. Their offense is going to do what the offense does, and they're going to put up 30-plus points in this game. It's just, are you going to be able to score consistently? Like, are you going to be able to score if Ohio State gets really hot on the offensive side of the ball? Are you going to be able to perform at an Alabama level for Clemson, where you're scoring every single drive? In that Notre Dame game, Clemson they did put up 34 points, but they did have their struggles early on. Obviously, they throw a pick in the first drive of the game. Are you going to be able to limit those turnovers? Are you going to be able to score touchdowns consistently? You don't want to settle for field goals. You need to score touchdowns consistently. If Ohio State's offense gets hot and your defense starts breaking down, Clemson's offense has really got to prevail and score a lot of points. Are they going to be able to do that? This is all a bunch of if scenarios right now, because what's going to happen right now, I love looking at the ESPN Power Index Predictor, whatever you call it. That's been a stat that I really like looking at. I really like analyzing it, because it's not like it's exactly what's going to happen, but it's just an interesting perspective that I like to break down. Right now, the ESPN Power Index Predictor has this game at a 50-50% chance for both teams to win. That's right down the middle. That is amazing. I love that. I'd honestly put it, if I was to make this, Gamecock fan aside, because there's no question in my mind that I am going to be cheering my heart out for Ohio State in this game. I picked them in my College Bowls prediction. I've been saying I want Ohio State to win. I want Ohio State to win 100-0. Like, nothing would make me happier on New Year's Day than to go out there and see Ohio State smack the absolute crap out of Clemson. But if I had to be realistic, again, I'm being non-biased in this. If I had to make these percentage predictions or the power index or whatever, I would give the edge to Clemson. I'd probably put Clemson at a 65-35% chance to win this game. Especially, it's hard for me to, if Ohio State blew out Northwestern, I think we're looking at a completely different scenario, because that one game for Ohio State going in against Northwestern, Indianapolis, really just had me questioning. I watched that game. I watched the whole game. That really had me questioning what I feel about Ohio State and what they're going to be able to do when they go up against the top 2 teams in the country, whether that be Clemson or whether that be Alabama. How are they going to perform? So I would give the slight edge to Clemson in this scenario. I think the over-under right now is like 66.5, which is lower than the other playoff game, which is at like 73.5 or something like that for Alabama and Notre Dame. Obviously, they expect Alabama to run up the scoreboard in that one. But who am I going to take in this game? I think, again, I picked Ohio State. I want Ohio State to win. Me, personally, I'm picking Ohio State. If I had to bet money on this game and I took out every single bias that I have in my bone, every single inch of hate that I have for Clemson in my body, if I took that out and I had to put my life on this game, I would bet Clemson. I'd pick Clemson. So reality side of me is picking Clemson, but the sports fan side of me and the massive, massive, massive Gamecock fan I am is taking the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I am going to be cheering for the Buckeyes nonetheless in this game. Go Buckeyes. Go slap Clemson, please. But again, I said if I take it all the biases, I would take Clemson in this game. So that is my pick show for this game. I hope you guys enjoy the game on New Year's. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great day. Thank you for watching. Like the video, comment down below, subscribe definitely. Thanks for watching, and come back next time.